Round 5 of this year's British Touring Car Championship comes from the fastest circuit on the calendar, Thruxton in Hampshire. With average speeds of over 110 miles per hour, this circuit is not for the faint of heart. Coming into this round, Colin Turkington leads the standings, but his championship advantage is just 10 points from Ash Sutton.
Round 13 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. It is 16 laps ahead of us. Dan Camish on pole position. Tom Ingram on the outside of row 1 ahead of Matt Neal and then Adam Morgan. Drivers look towards the lights. Now we wait for the lights to go out to get the race underway. Who will make the best start? We're racing. Good getaway by Ingram. Good start by Turkington and by Sutton. Not a great start by Camish, and it's Ingram who goes round the outside of him. Chilton's on the curb and on the grass on the inside of Allard, but it's the Toyota that leads the way. Tom Ingram hits the front on the run up towards the complex. Adam Morgan tries to get up the inside of the Honda for third place as they come into the corner. It is Matt Neal who has gone through the corner just ahead of him, so Camish and Neal are second and third. Morgan is fourth, but it's Tom Ingram who leads as they accelerate their way through the complex for the first time.
Yeah, great start by Ingram. It looked like Camish bogged down a little bit and then got some wheel spin, probably as he dipped the clutch, but Ingram got it all hooked up and drove neatly round the outside. No huge improvement from the rear-wheel drive cars. As I say, that Sutton sides up the inside of the BTCC cars, but they, I think Turkington only made up one place.
Indeed so. Sutton's on the move, gained a couple, hasn't he? The two Hondas, the teammates, Cook and Chilton, are absolutely side by side. Josh Cook goes through, does he on the inside, heading into Church? Yes, he does, he's gone by. Tom Chilton, who loves this place, fights back, tries to get up alongside. Behind them, look, is the BMW. Tom Oliphant trying to buy into this battle. Chilton on the inside, he will get the place back. Oliphant tries to follow him through, and he will do so. Chilton gains a place, Oliphant gains a place as well. End of lap 1 then, over the line. Tom Ingram was the race leader when we last saw them, and indeed he will lead them across the line at the end of lap 1. Camish is second, Neal third, Morgan is fourth, fifth is Jake Hill, sixth is Rory Butcher, Turkington seventh, eighth is Sutton, good first lap, ninth is Chilton, Oliphant is 10th, then it's Cook, Crease, Proctor, Smiley and Austin 15th.
Yeah, well, Camish looks like he's off and chasing after Ingram now. I don't think Tom Ingram really expected to be quite this high up. I mean, he knew he had a good car here, but after qualifying, he said that was a matter of bravery. Hamilton into the pits with a technical problem, I should think. But yeah, Ingram was really hanging it out in qualifying to do that pole time. Oh!
Replay of Andy Neat at the start, going rally crossing, coming out of Allard, thankfully. Although the car's scouter, nobody collects him. Battle on for 7th, isn't it? Turkington versus Sutton now, as again Ingram absolutely on the ragged edge. Now look at this, Butcher has been reeled in by Turkington, who knows he's got to get on with the job now because Ash Sutton is right there behind him. Ford, BMW, Infiniti, then Honda. Tom Chilton at the rear of that battle pack coming up towards the chicane. Turkington wants to find a way past the Ford, but in doing so can't afford to leave the door even ajar. Can he hit a spin? That's Jake Hill losing it coming out of the chicane. He drops down the order, no damage seemingly. Jake Hill, has he got a bigger problem in restarting? Well, they've all come flooding past him, so they're all up one spot there, but still Butcher is under attack from the Turkington, Sutton, Chilton train.
Well, that's a shame for Jake Hill because he was in a solid 5th place there, and that's going to drop him down the order and affect the remaining 2 races of the afternoon. Turkington doing his usual sort of waiting for a good opportunity. We get to this point, already the front-wheel drive cars are starting to work their tyres a bit harder. Jake Hill in the pits. So we'll see what that is, but the rear-wheel drive cars look after their tyres just a little better through here. So Turkington's waiting for that drop-off to come from Butcher in front.
Right now, fastest lap to Tom Ingram as he tries to build the gap. It's only 0.6 of a second to Dan Camish. Matt Neal is third, and there you can see going through the rear-wheel drive cars how much lean there is as they turn through Church. Michael Crease running in 11th, doing a really good job on pure pace here, staying with Josh Cook ahead of him. But Chilton is the man on his toes this lap to try and have a go at Ash Sutton. Into the chicane they come. This is the end of lap 5. Leaders head up towards the line, but this train of cars for 5th turns through the chicane. Now Sutton, look, right onto Turkington's tail.
Yeah, Chilton's really been on the move, hasn't he, the last few laps. He's caught this group very quickly, and he's brought Oliphant. Oh, through on the inside goes Sutton on Turkington, the 2 championship protagonists. Did Turkington get a bad exit? I didn't see that from the chicane, but Sutton was able to drive through.
Turkington tries to fight back and also has to cover off the challenge of Tom Chilton. A slipping clutch for Nicholas Hamilton, we understand, has brought him into the pits. But Sutton, having gained that place from Turkington, is driving away from him.
He is, and I think we're going to see a replay. Here we go, coming out of the chicane, just superior traction on the Infinity. He just drives up the inside of Turkington, who puts up no defence whatsoever.
And there is Turkington a long way back. Now, has he got a problem? Is this a really significant point in the championship? Because he's lost places, he's dropping down that magic 15 for points. Look, he's just got no pace anymore. He's got no straight line speed. He looks like he's look, they're just driving around him. So there's some power issue with that car. Now he's really slowing down. And they picks up the pace again. Was he just letting them through to stay out of the way? Very strange. Looks like again, it's come and go. Could be an electrical problem. We'll have to wait and see from the West Surrey boys, but a dramatic twist of events in this race. And in the championship situation, it's obviously advantage to Sutton. Boy, Sutton through. Sutton's past Butcher. Just makes it look easy, doesn't it? Storms through the pack. We've always said Ash Sutton's an exciting driver, and here's a brand new car for this year. It's a brand we've had on the grid in the past, but that car plus Ash just underlining his ability, his performance, and drives off the complex through on the inside. And that is Turkington into the pit lane. That could be one of the defining images of the season. You never know, because clearly it is a problem. The team goes to work. If they can get him back out for some exploratory laps as a test, really, for race 2, that would be very useful. So feverish work, but Turkington in the pits. More dust settling, somebody else has run wide, and that's Sam Osborne, who is off the road. Not a good race, I'm afraid, for the MB Motorsport, accelerated by Blue Square Hondas. We've seen Jake Hill with drama, now Sam Osborne off the road. Yeah, that rear wing isn't supposed to be at that angle. He's gone backwards into the tyre wall. And does this show us how he got there? Well, he rides the curb on the inside to get past James Gornall, goes out of shot, but then ended up on the grass. So there may have been contact, he may just have run out of road. Yeah, he certainly got the car. Well, looks like Boardley's been off. Or has a problem, or both, and he gets a tag from behind. Whoops, Andy Neat into the back of him. What's that about? That was very clumsy. That was really clumsy. I mean, Carl already had been off. He was trying to get out of the way, I think, and got tagged by Neat. That was really clumsy. Let's have another look. Look, he's going fairly slowly. He's trying to get out of the way, and Neat just clips him once, then hits him again. And goes off the road. Yes, Carl Boardley must have been thinking, what? Where did that contact come from? So, from another angle, as Tim said, the car is slow. Andy Neat gets into the back once. Boardley almost out of the way, and then bang. Yeah, I don't quite understand. There was plenty of room on the right, wasn't there? But, well, never mind. Back to the gap at the front. Came down 1/10 of a second on the last lap, but that's really nothing, and Camish would need to be a lot closer to really start forcing Ingram to defend. Sutton's got a big gap in front of him to Morgan. That's 7 seconds, so that's as good as Sutton is probably going to do, but that's a big points haul over Turkington. Yeah, that gap between Morgan and Sutton has gone up. Turkington is back on the road, by the way, so he's just left the pit lane. There he's going through. He's now on for, if you like, some test laps, ready for race 2, so he is circulating, but of course outside the points, and now 4 laps down, as here is this elasticated lead gap. It's going up, it's coming down. Andy Neat's heading for the pit lane again, I think, by the look of the slow forward through the chicane. Very slow forward this time. Ingram darts past, Camish behind him. To the eye, the gap looks like it's come down. What does the timing data tell us? 1 second becomes 7 tenths. Yes, it has come down significantly as they start lap 13 of 16. Ingram again trims the lawn on the outside of Allard. Pressure on now. And it's those little things like the car running slightly wide that give the chasing driver lots of encouragement. I was talking about Rob Austin. I saw he was flashing his lights at Chris Smiley, so he's definitely back in the BTCC driver framework. Now this on the previous lap, Tom Ingram going wide at Church, having a bit of a moment there. That will have cost some of that time that he lost to Dan Camish. So we know that Tom's an exciting driver to watch, but it's getting a bit heart in mouth now, this. Well, that's twice on 2 laps he's been on the edge of the track, isn't it? And, well, Tom's not going to lift at that point, but surely it's a sign that he's really pushing that car and its tyres to the absolute limit. 4 laps to go. Important this, of course, for the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK with Ginster's outfit, looking for a maiden victory of the season. Tom has been unlucky on occasions. Brands Hatch race 3, contact. Alton Park race 3, didn't even get to the start of the race, so he wants a win. The team wants a win. The gap is down again under braking. Dan Camish, is he plotting his attack as we get into the last 2-3 laps of the race up towards the timing line? Ingram goes through 7/10 it was. What's the margin this time? It's 6/10 of a second now. Another little bit of a gain by Camish, but can Ingram stretch it out then? We're on to lap 14 of 16. 3 to go as they hit the complex.
I can tell you Camish will not be trying to settle for second at all. Honda based just down the road in Swindon. It's a home race for them. Yuasa, I already mentioned, the new livery on the bonnet for their 10-year anniversary. He'll be going for the win.
But so too will Ingram. He hasn't had a victory this season, and he wants one hugely. Camish, double winner this season. Again, to the eye, looks like he might just have dropped back a touch. Yes, he lost a 10th in the first sector. So for the first third of the lap at least, advantage Ingram. That's Sam Osborne back out of the pits and back onto the grass. So his checkered race continues, but focus on the race leaders for the moment. It's cat and mouse battle. Ingram versus Camish. Lap 14 out of 16 at Thruxton in round 13 of the championship. For the moment, it's the Toyota ahead of the Honda, but Camish traditionally is good under braking for the chicane.
He is, but and what he needs is a little bit of a mistake on the exit of Church. We've seen very close a couple of times Ingram, but and then that could give Camish an opportunity on the brakes. But round the rest of the lap, Ingram's got it under control just. The gap across the line this time, 5/10, just half a second.
Out of Allard they come then. So the gap down once more, half a second between the two. 2 laps to go now. So Camish getting closer and closer and closer, applying the pressure into the complex. They dive. So Ingram hangs on to the advantage for the moment.
Weight difference between the cars is only 6 kilos. Ingram, the lighter car, at 30 kilos. Camish on 36, so really nothing in it between them.
And let's look at sector times again. In the first sector, 2/10 quicker was Ingram over Camish. So, as on the previous lap, the Toyota seems to have the advantage through the first part of the lap. Camish good towards the end to bring down that gap. But again, to the eye there, it looks like it's stretched, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously at higher speed, that gap looks bigger. Lower speed, they look close together. Is Morgan getting closer to Neil for that final podium position? Just 8/10 of a second, and Morgan was 2/10 of a second quicker on the last lap, so he has been catching Neil.
Certainly fighting back, isn't he, as the race leaders are about to start the last lap. So as they come down into the chicane, Ingram once again was wide at Church, we understand. Camish there in second place. This is a replay of Ingram on that lap. Yeah, more than Camish. He hangs it out at Church corner, doesn't he?
I'll tell you what, if this was motocross, you'd call that roosting, where you kick up the dirt in the following rider, or in this case, driver Camish's face. He certainly had plenty of dirt going through the front of that car. His air filters have been doing a good job to keep that muck out the engine.
Well, can Ingram hang on in there, because the gap is down once more then. That momentum slightly lost on the back part of the previous lap. This is where the Toyota looks good. This is where he needs to stretch the margin. Ingram does stretch the margin in the first sector by a whopping 0.08 of a second.
But what he mustn't do is run wide at Church this lap. That's the only way he's going to be caught, is if he mucks up the next corner Church.
So be told, Tom, OK? He's heading to that part of the circuit right now. The Toyota versus the Honda. Ingram versus Camish. Camish quick into the corner. They turn their way through. How wide does Ingram go? That's OK, I think, is it?
Yes.
Camish has got the momentum. Ingram has got the lead. Can he cover off the inside line? Checkered flag at the ready. Round 13, into the chicane they come. Absolutely nose to tail. Camish has a look on the outside line. Ingram will try to fend him off. Then it's going to be the sprint out of the chicane, up towards the timing line. Is it going to be a first win of the year for Tom Ingram and the Toyota Corolla? Yes, it is. Tom Ingram wins at Thruxton. Dan Camish threw everything at it, but takes second position. For third, it should be Matt Neal to make it both of the Dynamics Hondas within the top 3. There, Tom Oliphant keeping at bay Josh Cook and Michael Crease. Neil does take third. Adam Morgan gets fourth. Fifth across the timing line should be Ash Sutton. There he is. For sixth, it's Rory Butcher ahead of Chilton, Oliphant, Cook and Crease. Tom Ingram wins for the first time this season, ahead of Dan Camish and Matt Neal in third. Fourth goes to Adam Morgan. A really good fit, important for points and the championship. Ash Sutton ahead of Rory Butcher and Tom Chilton. The top 10 completed by Tom Oliphant in eighth, then Josh Cook, and Michael Crease gets his best of the season. championship situation after 13 rounds. Ash Sutton is the new championship leader by 1 point from Colin Turkington. Rory Butcher third. Tom Ingram's up to fourth then, ahead of Dan Camish and Tom Oliphant. Then it's Tom Chilton seventh from Adam Morgan. Senna Proctor now moves ahead of Jake Hill for ninth. Jake down to 10th. Rob Austin up to the grid then. It's great to have him back, even though it's going to be a one-event policy for Power Max Racing. Jade Edwards takes over the car for the next round, different drivers from there on in. But Rob starting then 12th on the grid in the car that Rob Collard drove last year. Tom Ingram is the man on pole position. And, of course, it's been a very good win, that, for Tom Ingram earlier on in the day. Not only his first of the season, Toyota Gazoo Racing UK's first victory, but part of a triple whammy for Gazoo Racing, because they've won Rally Turkey, Le Mans, and in the British Touring Car Championship, all on the same day.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how Sutton gets away. Reduced boost, but reduced weight on the car as well. So watch the car third on the inside.
Nick Hamilton starting from the pit lane if he starts with the clutch drama. Round 14 of the championship set to go. Lights go red, lights out, blast off. A lot of wheel spin from the Hondas. Not a great start by Sutton. Adam Morgan tries to out-drag him. Across the front of Sutton goes Matt Neal. Morgan round the outside. The Infinity gets boxed in, but it's Tom Ingram that leads the way as they head up towards the complex. Matt Neal goes second, Dan Camish third. Sutton trying to find his way through the traffic as they head to the complex for the first time, but it's Ingram trying to extend an advantage over the rest of them, so they all get through safely. Bit of leaning in mid-pack. Sutton trying to get through the Hondas. He's on the outside line then as they come now through Seagrave for the first time. He still can't do it. Butcher and Morgan get together. Butcher squeezes at the grass on the inside, and Morgan holds his ground, but Sutton gets ahead of him.
Yeah, it was an aggressive Camish who cut across the front of Sutton, who then tried to go around the outside of him at the complex, but Camish was having none of it.
So Tom Ingram has escaped, hasn't he, while the Hondas were scrapping with the Infinity as they accelerate then now up towards Church for the first time. Out of the Hondas, it is Matt Neal ahead of Dan Camish then. Matt Neal's slightly lighter car. Sutton's got himself up to fourth at the expense of Adam Morgan in the Mercedes. But look at the lead Ingram has pulled on the opening lap, heading up Woodham Hill for the first time into the chicane. Honda's second and third, gap back. Everybody else in a line for fourth, headed by Ash Sutton. But Ingram, and don't forget, he's got maximum weight on board. He's trying to build a gap early on that he might need to preserve late race. End of lap one, through the chicane. Toyota leads, and there, Camish goes through on the inside for second. That looked fairly easy as a pass.
Yeah, suspiciously easy, you might say, but judging by the way that Camish set off on that first lap, Matt Neal probably thought, well, you're maybe a bit quicker at the moment, I'll let you go, son. But I think that gap to Ingram will gradually come down. Look how hard Camish is pushing through there. That's allowed Sutton as well, that swap of positions, to get back up behind the two Hondas.
Camish closing up under braking, Splitter drags on the ground a little bit as he does so. Ingram bounces the car over the curb. They are almost tied together then as they come out of the chicane to put 4 of 16 laps in the book. But Ingram, the pressure he was under in race one has just continued into race two, hasn't it? It's still Camish in his mirrors all the while. Yeah,
you sense the disappointment in Camish after race one, and he's setting out to try and keep that pressure on Ingram, see if he can force him into mistake, or whether the changes they've made to the car will make it a little bit quicker at the end of the race.
Turkington still 17th, by the way. That was the first lap of the race that he hasn't actually gained places, but let's see what he can do this time around. There are the two leaders. So the gap at the start of the lap, 0.467 of a second, and the gap had crept up fractionally within the first sector because Ingram was just a touch faster to that point. There is Camish in second spot, though.
Yeah, we saw that in race one, didn't we? That Ingram was a little bit quicker in the first sector, which has got all the tight corners, Campbell, Crobbs, Seagrave. So maybe his car's a little better in the slow corners, and Camish a little bit quicker in the fast. You see him catching up now, and we know that Honda's very good on the brakes.
Drama here, Turkington versus Goff. This is the fight going on for 16th and 17th places. Turkington goes through on the drag up Woodham Hill into the chicane, so a place gained. He's heading closer to the points. One more place and he gets 1 point, but also he's edging towards the 12 for the reverse grid draw. And here, More drama into the chicane. Tom Onslow Cole. Andy Neate gets sideways. Sam Osborne involved, and Andy Neate's torrid day continues. Sutton fourth. Turkington is in the points. He is now 15th. So he's chipping his way forward, as Colin knows how to do. There is Ingram versus Camish. Dan has done the fastest lap of the race, but it's 0.6 of a second the margin. Now look back through the traffic. Wait to see Colin Turkington. There he is. So the next target for him now is Jake Hill. He was 1 second adrift at the start of this 9th lap. So the BMW looks to be all good in this race, and Colin Turkington trying to benefit now from that reverse grid draw and maximise what race 3 might present him with.
Yeah, the problem is the cars in front are all fast cars. Turkington was a little slower than them last lap, but that was probably because he was doing an overtake. But Sutton's slower. He's lost a lot of ground to Matt Neal. He must have been off on the dirt, I think, because it looked like he was cleaning his tyres up.
Let's have a replay of it then, and he does indeed drift wide at Church. Matt Neal went wide, but Sutton went wider, and that brings Adam Morgan back into the mix, doesn't it? The dust at Church is settling again as others have run wide. Lead gap still hovering around this 0.6 of a second margin, as Tom Chilton, who loves this place, even though he's never won here, heads into the chicane. He wants a win here, he says, more than anywhere else. He's fending off Cook. Crease comes next. There is Ollie Jackson under attack from Jake Hill. Pitboard to Chilton, but while that battle rages on between Ollie Jackson and Jake Hill, Colin Turkington, of course, is benefiting because he is closing and looking to try to make a move and gain yet more places, yet more points. And he's about to have a go, isn't he? Look against Jackson. Here they come out of Allard. The BMW tries to get the run up the inside of the Ford, heading into the complex. Turkington to the inside, brakes as late as he dares, gets the job done, goes through.
Yeah, that was a good move. He made his intentions very clear, and Ollie Jackson gave him the room to get through.
So Jackson lost out to Hill. He's lost out again to Turkington. Here it is, Tim.
Yeah, look, Collins teed it up, but he leaves his braking really late to make sure he gets up the inside. Jackson doesn't try and close the door. Colin gets the car stopped and over the inside curve, but Campbell, and he's away.
Gap coming down and smoke from Morgan's car.
Yeah, is that a puncture or something? Yeah, look, he's slowing. No, that's coming from underneath the centre of the car. So that's engine, and then it slowed down. It wasn't a tyre though, was it? It was definitely coming from under the centre side of the car.
Agree with
which
you on that.
Usually means engine or gearbox, but it suddenly stopped. That's quite strange.
But also the pace seemed to be ebbing away as he came out of Church. So let's see whether Adam bails for the pit lane. He may have had an instruction to back right off and come into the pits if the team identified it. Steve Farrell, his engineer, would have seen that on the pictures. And there he is into the pit lane. So really bad luck for Adam Morgan. His 251st British Touring Car Championship race is not going to end with a good result. He heads down the pit lane, and hopefully the team can get that out for race 3, but he's going to be at the back of the grid. Meantime, look there, the two Hondas at BTC trade places. Do they? Not quite. Chilton fends off the challenge of Josh Cook.
Yes, every team manager's worst nightmare, this, isn't it? You can imagine Bert Taylor watching this with his bobble hat over his eyes.
Very smart bobble hat, one should point out. That is Bobby Thompson out of the race as well. So we've got Bobby Thompson in sector 1 out of the race. Adam Morgan into the pit lane. Chilton versus Cook with the satellite car of Michael Crease right there behind them. But Josh, the lap record holder here, is hustling on. A winner for the last 3 visits. He wants to try and maintain that record. He's only got one more chance, of course. That's going to be in race 3 because he's still at the bottom end of that top 10. Lap 13 we're currently on. Chilton fends off Cook as they head up towards the chicane. Rob Austin's on his toes, having a go at Senna Proctor now also. So Rob Austin is up into 11th place. Can he gain further out of that as they come into the chicane now? Not this time, he can't. Race leaders start lap 14. Lead gap 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, actually, Tom Ingram is the new lap record holder now, isn't he, from race 1?
Yeah,
but
sorry.
Interesting, he did a 16:206, and in this race, Camish has done a 1 minute 16:208, so just 0.1 of a second quicker. Always good bragging rights to have the lap record, though.
True enough. I'll take your word for it, Tim.
Oh, it is.
Yes. Damage on the front of Rob Austin's car, but he is in 11th place, battling on. There are the race leaders, 0.8 of a second between the pair. Ingram leads, Camish is second. So can Ingram do 2 from 2? Looking good at the moment. And again, it's a really fast pace that the 2 leading cars have been setting.
It is, and I mean the weight has swung the other way because Ingram was 6 kilos lighter than Camish in race 1, and now obviously is 6 kilos heavier. But despite that, he's still holding the lead and coping with the pressure. Although, as I say that, it appears that Camish is closing again on the brakes right at the. He is very close, but then watch the exit here. Ingram seems to get the straight line and get the exit really well.
He does, and so as they come over the line, 0.8 of a second. Last lap becomes, let's see, we wait for the Camish lap time to come up, 4:10, so it's halved. Camish is having another push, isn't he, with 2 laps to go. This could be the last hurrah, really. So into the complex for the penultimate time, Toyota versus Honda. And the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK with Ginster's Corolla ahead of the Halford Yuasa Racing Civic. There is Matt Neal, good for the podium once again. And that battle between Ash Sutton has rather fizzled out, hasn't it? It's calmed down and Sutton's dropped away. Yeah, it's been a fairly steady sort of race 2, really, hasn't it? But Turkington coming through the shot. He's just out of the potential reverse grid positions. 12th being held at the moment by Jake Hill and Turkington in 13th, albeit he is up 11 places. Which isn't bad going, I accept. Aidan Moffat in replay versus Stephen Jelly. And differing lines at the chicane. Aidan Moffat being warned about track limit abuse, incidentally. Here are the race leaders, set to start the last lap of race 2 at Thruxton, and Tom Ingram is hanging on in there. Dan Camish right up behind him. Into the chicane they come. So, first and second, flick through absolutely nose to tail. There is third. You see the margin that the top 2 has pulled over. Neal in third place. Camish, though, good through the chicane. Ingram perhaps less tidy that time, so now he is really under attack with 1 lap to go. Here comes Camish as he timed this to perfection. The run up towards the complex. It was a 10th between them starting the last lap. Ingram is under attack. Camish right there behind him. With the lights on, he's trying every trick in the book on this last lap to get past. Ingram is well capable of soaking up the pressure, but he's still got to complete the lap. And there, look, the gap widens coming out of the complex, but Camish will be hunting him down again. We know that Dan is a little bit tidier through Church. Oh. Is that going to help him? They're absolutely on the giddy limit going through Noble. Tim will breathe in a moment, am I right? Ingram accelerates now out of Goodwood. Camish is close, but is he close enough to have a go? If he's going to challenge at the chicane, the move has got to start now, hasn't it? To be quick through Church, to get into the draft on the run up the hill. It's still the Toyota ahead of the Honda. How wide does Ingram go through Church? He does go wide, but not as wide as he has been to kick up the dirt. But look at Camish, he's closing on the run up the hill for the last time. Checkered flag at the ready. Can Camish dive bomb the Toyota? He pulls to the outside line. You've got to be neat and tidy through the chicane. Camish tries to unsettle Ingram on the outside line. Who's got the best drive out of the chicane? The Toyota will cover off the inside line. Ingram leads, Camish chases. It's 2 out of 2 for Tom Ingram. The Toyota wins, but only just. Yet again, a great race between Tom Ingram and Dan Camish, 0.291 of a second. Another victory for the Gazoo Racing brand today. Wow, and what a battle between those two. Matt Neal third, Ash Sutton fourth, Rory Butcher fifth. So, Tom Ingram wins round 14 of the BTCC from Dan Camish and Matt Neal. Ash Sutton fourth, Rory Butcher fifth, and Tom Oliphant rounds out the top 6. 14 rounds in, Ash Sutton is the championship leader now with an 11-point margin over Colin Turkington. But 2 wins have brought Tom Ingram into the mix. He's third ahead of Dan Camish and Rory Butcher, with Tom Oliphant 6th. Tom Chilton is 7th ahead of Adam Morgan. Matt Neal is now 9th, and Senna Proctor completes the top 10. So, Josh Cook has won here on each of the last 3 visits. Tom Chilton, his teammate, loves the place and has never won here. And whisper it, every time he's led here, he's had a puncture. So, he's really keen to win a race here. Josh Cook is really keen to win a race here. All bets are off. It is round 15 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship from Thruxton. The drivers look to the gantry, lights go red. Who is going to get the best start as we go racing? Good start by Tom Oliphant's BMW from third on the grid, but not quite good enough to get between the Hondas. Josh Cook will lead. Tom Chilton slots into second as they round Allard for the first time. Ash Sutton's away nicely as well as he tries to work his way through the traffic on the way up towards the complex for the first time. Dust is kicked up. Ingram is late on the brakes on the outside. Rory Butcher very late on the brakes to try to get third, and he does so ahead of Oliphant, and now he challenges for second, but it's Josh Cook who leads on lap 1.
Yeah, well, you've got to say the start line boost reduction for the rear-wheel drive cars is definitely working, because Turkington, Oliphant and Sutton did not leap forward a row of cars.
And look at Ingram go, maximum weight. He's up past Sutton on the inside line. He's got a great run out of the complex, and it's still great as he goes into Goodwood. It's the heaviest car on the grid, but he's already storming his way up the order. Sutton now fights back, so Josh Cook leads the way. Chilton is second, Butcher third, Oliphant fourth, and Ingram fifth already.
Yeah, great move by... that corner's been trying to catch him out all weekend, and he runs wide and gives the position back to Sutton.
Sutton on the inside line, the championship leader, and he's got there the Honda look right up behind him in the hands of Matt Neal into the chicane. Sutton does go back ahead of Ingram, then it's Neal, then it's Crease. The cars accelerate out of the chicane, 1 lap in the book, and drama. Carl Boardley facing the wrong way in the middle of the chicane, and he's got broken rear suspension. Look, the right rear wheel at a wonky angle, so that car is only heading as far as the pit lane. Cook leading Chilton, 6/10 the margin at the end of lap 1. BTC Racing 1-2, Motorbase 3, WSR 4. Oliphant leading the rear-wheel drive class, if you like.
Yeah, Ingram, the gainer out, that gaining 2 places. Camish, the man we spoke to, lost 4, so perhaps I won't do that again.
We'll get the job back. There's the contact, look, it was Boardley versus Moffat, and Carl Boardley limps into the pit lane. He's having a miserable season. All the optimism for this new car is not really being borne out, seemingly. There's good pace at Knock Hill, but sad way to end the day here. Now, the BTC Hondas, 18 kilos Cook, 24 kilos for Chilton, getting away from Rory Butcher, 36 kilos of weight on that Ford Focus, running in third place, and Josh Cook, who was the lap record holder here at the start of the weekend, determined to try to turn around his season.
Yeah, working the wheel hard. You saw through the sun through the windscreen there as he came through church. He was putting a lot of action on the wheel just to keep the car on the track.
Round the outside there, look, Dan Camish versus Colin Turkington. The Honda goes ahead, takes the place away from Turkington, but Colin tries to fight back coming off the chicane. To the inside line, he goes into Allard. Can the BMW get its place back on the tighter, quicker inside line? Yes, 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 it can. Turkington goes through.
Yeah, good battle that is, certainly, and that's going to rage. Turkington trying to move forward and get some points back. He's lost the championship lead, and he's fighting as Camish goes round the outside. Pushes a little wide, but Turkington's on the inside for Seagrave in the exit.
So Colin Turkington then gets his 9th place back. He's making progress forward. Senna Proctor now comes up to challenge Camish. So does Jake Hill. So does Rob Austin. Camish has had his hat on here, hasn't he? Because they're swarming past him. Around the outside goes Proctor and Hill. OK, these cars are lighter, but Camish then put offline. Suddenly they come flooding past him.
Yeah, it's really not worked out for him, has he? He said he was going to get his elbows out, but he's been pushed to the outside, and they've all steam trained through on the inside of him.
That battle pack for third is growing, isn't it? Because Butcher, Oliphant, Sutton and Ingram are getting themselves together. Camish then now down behind Jake Hill. That's going to put him into a 12th spot. Rob Austin, the next driver that will come up to have a go, although Camish is on the attack, isn't he, to try to get back past Jake Hill on the run to the chicane. But the older style Honda, FK2, fends off the newer, longer FK8 shape. Austin is next, then Jackson as they come bouncing over the curve out of the chicane. Jack Goff is up with them as well, just in the points. But the lead gap, 7/10 of a second between Josh Cook and Tom Chilton right now.
Yeah, Rob Austin on the back of Camish. He's had a great weekend so far, has Rob Austin. I can't praise him enough, really, to jump in for a one-off race meeting. He's used all of experience to stay largely out of trouble. He's done a really good job. He must be a bit rusty, obviously, but and this isn't the place to come back and get yourself back up to speed, but you don't have any choice. But he's driven really well this weekend.
I seem to remember Rob regularly telling us, I'm not short of commitment. And he's been proved again here, isn't it? So he is back only for this one weekend, but really going nicely. There is Matt Neal ahead of Michael Crease, who was rather impudently flashing his lights at Matt at the start of the lap to try and hurry him along a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a great choice by Power Max to bring him back for this race, because it would have been a daunting place to put somebody in the car without experience. It's actually the car that Rob Collard drove last year, and is the car that Mike Bushell was driving in and got damaged up at Knock Hill, and they've rebuilt the car. I guess Jason Plato's got his car wrapped up in cotton wool ready for next year and didn't want anyone using it.
Just imagine. So leaders go by, lead gap 0.6 of a second. Chilton is now inching up onto the back of Cook for the race lead. Butcher, Oliphant, Sutton and Ingram. That takes you 3rd to 6th, and Ingram is staying with them, isn't he, despite the weight in the car?
Yeah, that Toyota's looked really good here this weekend. Look, he's holding the tight lines. Oh, Sutton right up the inside volume. That was, he loves that complex, doesn't he? But look, Ingram's taken advantage as well and gone through. But Sutton loves the complex because he can put that Infinity in places other people can't put their car.
And Sutton also hooked a wheel onto the dirt, so having got the move done, he also had to control another little moment, but he gains a place, so does Ingram. Replay here of damage at the back of Jack Goff's car, which is falling apart around him. Bits fly. There are the two leaders, and as I say, that gap was down slightly at the end of the previous lap. In Sector 1, the gap goes up. Sector 2, it comes down. Chilton chasing Cook. Could Bert Taylor and his merry men be on for a 1-2 here?
Well, they could be. It would keep that run of Honda victories going that goes back, I think the last time Honda didn't win a race, it was 2016.
And Josh Cook eager to maintain his record as well of a winner each visit for the last 3 into this 4th visit of the championship to Thruxton, trying to extend that record if he can. The new trackside furniture there off Jack Goff's car, but look at the lead gap, it is down again as they break for the complex. Chilton, though, not yet able to strike against his teammate, but they need to be mindful of Rory Butcher's pace behind, don't they?
Yeah, Rory Butcher's car doesn't quite come off that curb as tidily as the Honda's, does it? It's got great pace, but doesn't seem to quite like the curbs as well.
Now, Tom Ingram still chasing after Ash Sutton. Where's Turkington got to? He's a bit stuck in 9th place, and he was there a couple of laps back, so he's not making more progress for the moment, but he's getting himself there onto the back of Michael Crease. So remember, Michael in his 2nd year in the championship, he's got Colin Turkington behind and Matt Neal ahead of him. So here he is living the dream well and truly with the stars of the championship all around him. Now what can Chilton do about Cook for the race lead? 0.602 of a second at the start of this lap. It's gone up fractionally, as you see, as they come towards the chicane. But Josh Cook hustles the car out of the corner, up towards the timing line. Chilton to the eye looks close, but is it close enough to think about being able to make a move? Well, it has come down a little bit, half a second as they cross the line.
Yeah, I mean, they've matched each other's lap times on the last 2 laps to within 1/10 of a second, so it is minute amounts, but it is still early in this race, and there will be tyre degradation, and perhaps that could be reflected in driver styles towards the end of the race.
Got Aidan Moffat into the pits, Nicholas Hamilton, and we knew about Carl Bordley, so 3 drivers have gone missing. Tom Onslow Cole up to 21st from his back of the grid start, but Sutton is getting closer to Butcher, so Sutton could be on for another place and, crucially, more points relative to Turkington.
Yeah, he's already outscoring him again in this race, and that's what it's all about. It's all about outscoring your opponent. But, I mean, Ingram is definitely in this little battle now for the championship. This weekend's been such a strong weekend, and Silverstone's always a place that Ingram goes well as well.
This is true. Front-wheel drive cars go well also. He needs as many front-wheel drive cars between him and the Sutton-Turkington duo as possible in a week's time, don't forget, when we're at Silverstone for the next races in the championship. Now there is Butcher versus Sutton. The gap at the start of the lap was 1/5 of a second, and Sutton now is crawling all over the back of the Ford. Can he get a tighter line here through Goodwood, and then that long, long sweep of Village into Church?
It really is quite an incredible story, isn't it, for that team, Laser Tools Racing, in conjunction with BMR, it must be said, to have built those Infinities and be leading the championship at this stage. I mean, they took the attitude that if you can't beat BMW, you might as well join them. What was the only other rear-wheel drive car out there that fitted the package? And it was that Infinity. And they've gone out and they've done it. It uses the Toka engine, remember, it doesn't use a bespoke engine, and Butcher's getting a little bit squirry. We know how good the traction is off the corner, but I think Butcher stopped the car in the middle of the chicane so he could get a good exit. But it's a great job they've done with this car.
It is indeed. The Ford ahead of it in its first year, the Toyota behind in its second. That's a car that has made strides. The Ford has been a winner this year as well. And there further back, Dan Camish behind Jake Hill, so he's in 11th place now. Senna Proctor has dropped back, hasn't he? In fact, he's dropped back behind Rob Austin, but he fights back on the inside line into the complex. Lower down the order, what progress of Adam Morgan? He's up into 19th place. He tries to chip forward from 24th on the grid, so there are still lots of stories going on in this race, up and down the order.
Yeah, Camish hasn't made any progress. He fell back, didn't he, earlier, and the team told him on the radio to get his head down and pick a few off, but he hasn't been able to. That car's got that 54 kilos on, but it's exactly the same specification that he finished second in last race.
And Ingram, with even more weight, is better off than his grid position, fifth, having started 8th. So one has gone forward, one has gone backwards. And there's always the potential in this little battle that Ingram and indeed Sutton might gain more ground because they are very close to Butcher on the run up towards the chicane. Cook is getting away from Chilton once more. The gap last time was 7/10 of a second. Third, fourth, fifth, Concertina as they come into the chicane. The Infinity attacking and defending in the hands of Ash Sutton. Now, the leaders have done 9 laps of the 16. Sutton turns into Allard, applying the pressure to Rory Butcher.
Yeah, carries good speed right to the edge of the track. And let's see if we can stay on board and watch him through this complex. See how well that Infinity, look, he's over the curb on the inside. Build a bit of momentum over the curb on the next one. Using the traction to come off the corner. In fact, Butcher drove that section very well, in fairness to him.
So the margin between Butcher and Sutton was 3/10 at the start of the lap, and he's just gained a little bit more time over the Infinity in the first sector. Ingram is still there waiting for something to happen ahead of him that he can capitalise upon. Tom Oliphant is in 6th. It is Matt Neal 7th, Michael Crease 8th. Colin Turkington is still in 9th place, not yet being able to make any further progress forward. He's stuck behind the Hondas, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and the cars seem very equal. Doesn't matter whether it's front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, with weight, without weight. At the moment, it's very, very equal. Someone's been off in the background on the exit of Church, but the gap at the front does look very similar. Sutton looks like he has dropped back just a gnat from Butcher, so maybe it was him that ran wide.
Neal, Crease, Turkington turn into the chicane. There is Camish fending off Austin. The race leaders go by with 0.897 of a second now, being the margin. Battle on there, Adam Morgan gets himself up past Stephen Jelly, so that puts Morgan into 18th place. He's working his way forward all the time towards the points, head down. Tigerish drive this from Adam Morgan, trying to salvage the day after the disappointment of race 2. Power steering leak from the broken O-ring, remember. Now, Neal, Crease, Turkington as one.
Yeah, you can throw a blanket over them and it'll only take one little mistake, but Neal's had a fine meeting, hasn't he? 2 more podiums to add to collection, and he just keeps doing exactly what he needs to do. He's just such a talented, experienced driver. He recognises Camish has a bit more pace, and he helps him when he can. He's still blown away, actually, by Camish's pace in the car. But he is more than capable of winning races and running at the front, and he's proved that again this weekend.
Michael Crease deserves a big cheer, doesn't he? Because he's keeping Turkington behind him. He's staying on the back of Matt Neal. And Michael Crease, who's, if you like, a very quick am, he's doing a really good job. And Butcher there gets a bit crossed up in the first part of the chicane. Does that give Sutton an opportunity as they power out of the chicane? He's up on the outside line. Butcher covers off the inside. Can Sutton get the cut back for the inside at the corner? No, he can't. Can he challenge on the run to the complex? He's also got to be mindful of Ingram, who he's trying to buy into this as well. But Sutton fends off the Toyota. And Butcher, sigh of relief, keeps Sutton at bay. But they've all closed up again.
Yeah, they have, and it's a difficult one when you're in the middle like that, as Sutton is, because he forces Butcher to defend into the complex, but if he goes on the outside, try and run around the outside, he risks the chance of losing that position to Ingram.
So Sutton trying to attack, having to defend. In 6th place, but not actually getting up with them as yet is Oliphant, and there is Butcher going wide. That opens the door for Sutton, but he can't quite get up alongside. So another tiny moment for Butcher. It's Ingram that now starts to challenge Sutton. That is really close as they get up towards Church. Ingram trying to stick the nose of the Toyota up the inside. Ash Sutton fended him off, but great racing.
Well, that was a block, and it was a block because he had to get across in front of him because Ingram had a bit of a run, but that's 135 miles an hour they're doing that at.
Up to the chicane, Ingram will try and fight again. They close on the forward as they brake. Right, left, right again. See all the curb being used there as they accelerate through the corner. Sutton a little bit wider on the exit over the timing line. 12 laps completed, 16-lap race. And it is Cook by a second and a half now up front from Chilton as again Butcher mows the lawn coming out of Allard.
I mean, Ingram's car has been brilliant through the chicane all weekend. He always has his car a little bit loose and he just hangs onto it through the fast stuff, but through the twisty stuff like here, through the complex and the chicane, he is absolutely fantastic.
And again, look, he's lining Sutton up. There is the leader, Josh Cook. Tom Chilton dropping away in second spot. So it's a second and a half between those two. And then it's another 3.6 seconds to third, fourth, fifth, Butcher, Sutton, Ingram. Oliphant is next. Then it's Neil, Crease, Turkington, and Jake Hill is closing on the reigning champion.
Yeah, he's just edging his way forwards. Jake's weekend compromised by that first race puncture, sorry, and he's been fighting his way back ever since. But this is good to see, to bounce back for Cook at the moment if he carries this on. Don't forget his car was heavily damaged at Knock Hill in that rear shunt coming up to the chicane, and both Dynamics have helped out rebuild that shell, and obviously BTC Racing as well. So this will be a good reward for them to take a win.
So the BTC Racing cars, 1 and 2, this team of Bert Taylor and Steve Dudman, racer himself, great success in hot rod racing, national hot rods and pickups as well. Steve Dudman has enjoyed before coming into this as a co-owner with Bert Taylor of BTC. There for David Bartram's Motorbase squad, Rory Butcher hanging on to third place despite the intense pressure of Sutton, and Sutton in turn is under intense pressure from Ingram.
Yeah, it's all closing up a little bit there, isn't it? Look, that's all catching up there with Hill getting on the back of Turkington. He's bringing along behind him Camish as well.
So Michael Crease under attack from Turkington, which gives Matt Neal a little bit more breathing space. Jake Hill is the man that rounds out the top 10. David. Turkington obviously still looking for that 150th podium. Seems like a while he's been trying to get that. He's not going to get it this weekend, though. No, he's not. Two other drivers making progress. Bobby Thompson from 25th on the grid is up into 16th after all that hard work. Adam Morgan is 17th. Can they get into the points by flagfall? There is Butcher still third as they head into the chicane. Sutton has closed right up. Opposite lock correction needed. In fairness to Butcher, he's like a sponge here, isn't he? Soaking up the pressure. Yeah, he's just making sure he gets his exits right. That's what you need to do. He can be a bit messy in the corner as long as he nails the exit. But it's hard to do lap after lap when you're looking in your mirrors, trying to spot your braking point, get it all right. He's a little wide there. He needs to hold it tight here. Sooner or later, look, you see, the Infinity can turn a little bit tighter, get the power down earlier. It's getting harder and harder for Butcher. Look at the run that gives Sutton off the corner. Will he throw it up the inside into Goodwood? Here's a chance. Yes! And watching in the mirrors, Butcher saw him lining that up, turned the car in and got himself into a big old slide as a result. Ingram's flashing the lights now. It's all getting a bit stressy. Yeah, Ingram's saying, come on, if you can't do it, let me have a go. But Sutton's not going to give up a place in the points, is he? So Ash Sutton is determined to find a way through. Ingram, yeah, again, on the light, slippery surface flag, which actually means there's some debris on the road. You see just a little bit of bodywork that's lying on the circuit, heading up towards the chicane. So they're about to start the last lap, as into the chicane again comes Butcher, hustling on through that final right-hand flick out of the chicane over the line. Leader Josh Cook goes through. Sutton tries the inside line into Allard. Lead gap is 2 seconds, and then third to fourth is 2 tenths. Yeah, it's very close. So this is going to be a defensive lap from Butcher, and I think this time is Sutton going to try and go around the outside. He is. He lines it up. He goes around the outside, but he gets a big slide on himself. Ingram's going to try and take him, but he can't cut back. Both going to lose momentum coming off the corner. Oh, Ingram, what a cutback. Can he carry that momentum, or has he had to back out? Let's see, he's trying to get up alongside. He's going to be on the outside line for Noble. It's a drag race between the two. Sutton is just ahead, but if Ingram can stand his ground, he'll have the inside line for the next corner. He can't. He slots back in behind Sutton, and for the first time in about 15 and a half laps, Butcher has got a bit of breathing space because he's gapped the Infinity by 3, 4, 5 lengths now, and that was Sutton's best chance, but it came to naught. So Butcher is good for the podium, and Josh Cook looks as though, find some wood to touch, he's going to be on target for a race win, because here he comes up towards the chicane. Josh Cook in the BTC Racing Honda has had a pretty horrible season thus far, but he's about to come through to score the race win, accelerates up towards the timing line, and Josh Cook, with a flash of the light, wins at Thruxton. It's a 1-2 for BTC Racing. Tom Chilton takes second. Third, Rory Butcher. Fourth, Ash Sutton. Tom Ingram fifth. Tom Oliphant sixth, but only just, with Matt Neal right behind him. Turkington eighth. Round 15 at Thruxton, won by Josh Cook. Teammate Tom Chilton second for BTC Racing, ahead of Rory Butcher. Ash Sutton fourth from Tom Ingram, Tom Oliphant, Matt Neal, with Colin Turkington eighth, Jake Hill ninth, and Dan Camish getting into the top 10 at the end. So after a drama-filled day at Thruxton, what does this do to the championship? Ash Sutton doesn't just take over the lead, he is 16 points ahead now from Colin Turkington, with Tom Ingram in the hunt in third. It's Rory Butcher fourth ahead of Dan Camish, Tom Oliphant sixth from Tom Chilton, Adam Morgan eighth ahead of Matt Neal, and Senna Proctor rounds out the top 10.
More to come after the break as we delve into the archives and rewind to the top few on sportsman action from the 2014 Andorra Western Nationals.